Making content for kids has changed a lot over the years, with old school children's programming often focusing on being educational while maintaining a sense of fun for the kids. Nowadays, kids' programming has a tendency to be, well, not that. It seems more common now that the people who create these shows have realized that they don't have to actually put any effort into writing or even making a good show for that matter. All they need to do is have their characters make wacky faces and be loud, and kids will love it. The clearest example of this is SpongeBob SquarePants, a show that in its glory days had some truly hilarious writing and could be enjoyed by both kids and adults, but nowadays falls into the same boat as many other shows for kids. Thinking back on kids shows of my era, I can think of many that I enjoyed, but a specific show always sticks out to me as being a cut above the rest. If you read the title, you've probably figured out by now that I'm referring to Phineas and Ferb. In my opinion, Phineas and Ferb is the best kids show Disney has ever made, and I think by the end of this video, I'll have you all convinced too. So with the intro out of the way, let's jump into it. Why Phineas and Ferb is Disney's best show. When you think of shows that are educational, chances are something like Sesame Street comes to mind, a show that goes out of its way to teach its viewers ideas and concepts. However, Phineas and Ferb is educational in its own right, it just has a very different approach to it. The show is able to capture and encourage the idea of childhood creativity in a way that I haven't seen from other shows. The protagonists are all very creative, kind, humble, and encouraging of each other, something that can be important in kids' programming since kids love to create role models out of the people they watch. Let's just say I'd much rather have my kids mimicking the personality of Phineas and Ferb than say someone like
into a brick wall. Taking seconds.
Anyways. One of the reasons I love Phineas and Ferb so much is because it's willing to give kids credit. What I mean by this is that many forms of kids programming, from YouTube to mainstream television, simply don't respect the kids that make up their audience. Far too often I'll see a kids show that treats their viewers like they're stupid, and to me, this always is an indicator of a bad show. Kids are much smarter than we give them credit for, and even if it may not seem like it sometimes, they can tell the difference between a good and a bad show. Studies have shown that kids respond much better to being taken seriously, and if a show is clearly designed with the target audience of dumb kids, they will notice. Phineas and Ferb is everything that makes a good kids show. It focuses on being a good show first, and doesn't worry if something they say might go over a kid's head. Most importantly, it allows kids to think for themselves. Kids are so used to being told exactly what to think about things in almost every aspect of their life, from school to home life. This is because, as I mentioned before, people think kids are dumb and can't think for themselves. The content in Phineas and Ferb may sometimes be a bit over the head of its target audience, but that's a good thing. Kids are able to use their brains and think about the thing that they didn't understand and try to understand it. It's sort of like the concept of adventure playgrounds. Adventure playgrounds are playgrounds made up of loose parts like barrels, wood, bricks, and tools. The idea behind them is that if you are treating a kid seriously by giving them objects that they could hurt themselves with, they're more likely to be careful and actually injure themselves less often. It's been proven these playgrounds build creativity and problem-solving skills significantly more than traditional safe playgrounds you see everywhere, while simultaneously maintaining a lower injury rate than those playgrounds literally designed to prevent injuries. This is how I feel about Phineas and Ferb as a show. It's great because it gives kids the credit they deserve and allows them to actually use their brain while watching.
Ah, Perry the Platypus! Your giant robot dragon is no match for my giant robot Queen Elizabeth I.
One of the best aspects of Phineas and Ferb is the music. The idea to have music in a kids show is obviously not a new one by any means, but to execute it to the extent that Phineas and Ferb has is something to marvel at. For nearly every episode in the series, there's at least one musical performance, with several episodes having multiple performances. Now, it's one thing to have music in your kids show, it's another thing for that music to be actually good. Even when I was a kid, I was always impressed by how good the music in the show is, especially because they have to make so much of it. Even to this day, there are countless songs from Phineas and Ferb that often pop back into my head, where they're the only thing that I'm able to think about for the following 2 weeks. The theme song, Squirrels in My Pants, Ain't Got Rhythm, Gitchy Gitchy Goo, Evil Love, Nemesis, Winter. These are just the ones I could come up with off the top of my head, and every single one of them is an absolute banger. The music was an essential part of the show since it tied into the plot and oftentimes moved it forward. Much of my love for the show is thanks to those iconic songs that have been stuck in my head since release. and I'm sure many fans of the show share this sentiment. Alright, so this would be the part where I play a couple clips of the music, but I'm pretty sure it's all copyrighted, so I'm just gonna sing a few. Okay. A-G-L-E-T, Aglet, don't forget it. Bow chicka bow wow. That's what my baby said. Bow, 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 and my heart starts pumping. Get you goo wow. Never gonna stop. Get you goo means that I love you. My nama nama. Ooh, my nama nama nama. My nama nama. Ooh, my nama nama nama. Of course, as with every show, one of the most important parts of the show's success is the writing. Each character is very developed and unique from each other, and they all have their own unique personality traits that make it really feel like a real group of friends. There aren't any characters that feel underwritten. Even characters who don't speak, like Perry the Platypus, have unique personalities. Speaking of Perry the Platypus, his relationship with Dr. Doofenshmirtz is one of my favorite hero-villain relationships in all of television or movie history. Doofenshmirtz is a classic example of the villain who tries his hardest to be evil, but truly doesn't have it in him to be an evil person. At his core, Doofenshmirtz is a good person, and watching him attempt to be evil by creating mild annoyances for the tri-state area is kind of wholesome. The same goes for his relationship with Perry the Platypus. Even though Perry is his sworn nemesis, it's clear that at the end of the day, Doof and Perry care about each other. After all, without each other, they would live far more boring lives. So even though they're sworn enemies, if it came down to it, we all know that they'd save the life of the other. It's a classic case of frenemies. They claim to hate each other, but simultaneously enjoy all that comes with hating each other, and likely would be upset to lose that. Doof and Perry are up there when it comes to great TV frenemy duos, somewhere between Stan and Kyle and Jim and Dwight. Come to think about it, many relationships in Phineas and Ferb rely on this sort of dynamic, including Baljeet and Buford and Candace and her brothers. The complexity that is illustrated through each of the relationships in the series is a perfect example of what makes the show so great. The fact that there are as many characters as there are with complex connections to each other character highlights the genius in the writing.
There's a panda in my closet and a panda paw print on my cheek. But it's not what you think. We're not enemies. We're just bad friends.
I decided to save the best for last on this video because this part is definitely the funniest aspect of the show. My favorite part of Phineas and Ferb is the writer's sheer commitment to the running gags in the show. Anyone who has watched more than one episode of Phineas and Ferb is likely well aware that the show loves to keep quite a few running gags going throughout the show, and to this day I still chuckle at almost all of them. So for the final part of this video, I made a brief compilation of some of my favorites.
Hey, where's Perry?
Hi guys, what you doing?
We're fixing this time machine. Ferb, I know what we're gonna do today.
Excuse me? Aren't you boys a little young to be restoring a national monument?
Yes, we are.
Behold, the leaky faucetinator.
Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
And this is pharmacist.
Really? Why does everyone just stampede to that conclusion? Other people wear lab coats, you know. From a tender age, my father decided that it would be me. Who are you? A platypus? Perry the Platypus? Curse you, Perry the Platypus!
That's it! I'm calling Mom.
Mom! The boys full of giant lava bread in the backyard!
What? I thought you said it was a roller race.
It was, but now it's a loaf of bread! Come on, see?
Candace, what are you talking about?
Oh, there you are, Perry.
Phineas and Ferb is the perfect example of how to do a kids show right. They cater to the fact that kids are smarter than they seem, they have great music, the writing is fantastic, and it makes me laugh even as an adult. Thanks to the combination of these traits, that is why Phineas and Ferb is Disney's best show.
Yeah! Did anyone look? I picture like half the people down there looking around like, who called my name?